Eminem, man, that era when he was just like breaking every record.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time because he is probably, I don't know who's we don't have anyone since that's close to him, but like he is like the Kelly Clarkson version in rap. Like, you know, for like
Welcome back, people. This is Soundbites, the part of the Album Mode podcast when we're talking about the music, the culture, the internet, and how all those things intertwine to create hip-hop, music, everything music-related today. Adriel, I'm back. This is Demar Grant, a.k.a. King Grant. Next week, there will be The Crown. The Crown will be here.
I can't wait to see it.
Okay?
I can't wait to see it.
That does exist. I'm also joined with my esteemed co-host, co-creator, Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. The Godfather. And we're also here with our producer, Agent Zero. Patient Zero.
Yep.
Adriel, we're back. And we're here. It's another hip-hop top 50. Or sorry, not top 50. Hip-hop's the 50th anniversary has just passed.
Yeah.
And we're just coming off the back of our 2000's review, right? We've been doing a decade each for each review, right? We did the 80s, we did the 90s, and we did the 2000s. 2000s was Jay-Z and the Blueprint. But there's other aspects of the 2000s that we want to talk about before we let go of the decade. Let go of the decade that brought us Jay-Z, brought us Drake, and also brought us Bling rap. Ringtone rap,
a lot.
Some people would consider that the darkness. But some of the artists that come from that era are actually like big time pioneers, right?
It's crazy to think of now, and this is probably something that I realized maybe like 6-7 years ago that changed the way I looked at everything. Is that like that was seen as a dark time? You're absolutely right. Like the ringtone era, people call it the snap rap.
Yeah,
like
Bling era.
Lil Jon.
Yeah,
that whole thing going on.
Soulja Boy was like, "What the fuck are we watching, listening to? What is happening?"
And it was like we used to really be like, "What does hip hop come to?" Yeah. And if you look at hip hop now, it's like that don't seem that crazy. It's like it's a whole different thing. Soulja Boy is one that came to mind for sure. Now he's like an internet meme in a whole different way. Yeah. Like Drake. Yeah, like he's a whole different way.
That Gucci headband.
Oh my gosh.
The way that Gucci headband got wore, he probably wore it to like 4 interviews in a row, and by the end of it, it was falling off of his head. It was falling off the bone.
Yeah, I just, it's crazy to see where he's come from because he really started, all of this stuff that we have now as like the rappers who get big on the internet. And him doing it through Limewire. Yeah. When I heard him tell that story. For all you young bucks who don't know what Limewire is, Limewire, the closest thing is like Pirate Bay right now. It would be the closest thing to Limewire.
It was basically the way that people were pirating music, right? It was a peer-to-peer.
Everything, yeah.
It was a peer-to-peer program, right, that allowed you to download music from peer-to-peer. Or anything, actually. Any file, not just music.
Yeah, people doing movies too.
Yeah, but music was like the biggest thing. It was after. It was basically Napster's like successor.
Yeah.
Right. And things like I'm trying to think back to that time, man. It was like
what's crazy to say? It was better than streaming. It was better than because I think now with streaming, it's so rare that like artists will always like drop something like right away on streaming or they like drop often on streaming. Like smaller artists do, but like big artists don't. Like you could find a song that just like randomly and just have it on your phone. No, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you could find a song randomly that's like, I don't know when this came out. This could be out today. It could be not out yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was really, really cool.
I remember I had like the Touch It remix. So like I had like 3-4 different versions of the Touch It. I don't think that ever existed outside of
like now when you search for on streaming, you might find 2.
Yeah.
But there was
a lot. There was like
7 remixes.
There was a lot of remixes.
And it was like you just typed in Touch It remix. Like or just typing in Lil Wayne and seeing what came up. Yeah, because Soulja Boy said that he like used to put his song in for like other songs, which did happen. You might think you're typing in Lil Wayne, I Feel Like Dying. Yeah. And all of a sudden you hear the Dixie Chicks.
Or you'd hear Bill Clinton, I did not have sexual relations.
That was viral, not before viral was a thing. But Soulja Boy would just replace, whatever song you search with, crank that. And it's just like to see where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because I never would have gave Soulja Boy the credit. He did have a little run.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in grade 10.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little time, pretty boy swag.
Oh yeah,
turn my swag on.
Turn my swag on.
Yeah. If you were a 16-year-old, you know, how many years ago, that would have sent you. That was like Lil Uzi almost. Like,
yeah. I was actually at a friend's wedding 2 weeks ago, and Crank That was played at the wedding.
Wow.
And people were doing the dance at the wedding. So it was two things for me. I was like, oh, this is sick. This is being played at a wedding. But I was like, shit, I am getting old. People are playing this song at weddings, because I remember being in elementary school dancing to this track, and now this is a real thing that people are doing at weddings, and I felt old. I felt old.
I think the main thing about the 2000s that I want everyone to understand is it really was pre-internet.
Yeah,
and so it's like Soulja Boy was getting hate, but Soulja Boy getting hate was like not the same way it is now. Oh my God,
not even close to.
You know, I think about all these artists who in interviews were throwing strays at Lil Yachty, you know, talking about, the mumble rap, the little this, the little that. Soulja Boy was not getting that in the same way. There definitely was some hate going on.
Yeah.
But it was not every interview. You scroll your timeline, you see it every day.
Yeah, it was more of like an undercurrent. Like, you know, this new thing that's happening with the dances. And like the dances was like a bad thing. Having a dance was a bad thing.
You talk about the barbershop, it was more like you'd hear it out. Like, it was more like you hear it in person when you talk to people, and everyone knew that people didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't as much kind of, there was no online. It wasn't even like an online thing. Because, you know, the guys who led up to Soulja Boy, and Soulja Boy never became like the hottest rapper. He was just, you know, bubbling up like, almost kind of like how Ice Spice is now. Ice Spice is not the biggest female rapper, but she definitely popping.
Yeah.
Was like that run with Eminem, 50, and Dre. I was always Team Kanye over Team 50, if you had to choose a side. But where were you in life at that time when it was the Eminem, 50, Dre era?
I legitimately think, I think Candy Shop is one of the first music videos I can remember.
I wonder why.
Like, that one left an impression on me. I remember sitting in my house watching it on, I believe, 106 in Park, when that was still a thing.
Sounds right.
And I was like, wow, this song is awesome. Also, what is going on in this music video? This is very interesting. So I think at that time I was just more in the 50 Cent realm, just because he was more visible. He was already like a thing before Kanye was like seriously.
That's crazy. Candy Shop came out in 2009.
Oh, so and then maybe even before Candy Shop. You know, in the club, I also watched it. I was a big...
Sorry, 2005.
Yeah,
that
okay.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, way more sense.
In the club, yeah.
In the club, you know, Candy Shop, all that type of stuff. I was very much a G-Unit. I was a G-Unit dude.
You were G-Unit. Do you have the shoes too?
I don't know if I had the shoes. I'd have to check my closet.
That's the other thing too. I guess we were too young for that era, but like the G-Unit shoes and the S dots.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
That's not happening now. Like, the Travis Scott's is the closest thing to like a rapper really having a shoe that everyone buys. But Travis Scott also has like so many different variations.
Yeah.
You know, it's still a Jordan. These guys had like their own like
G-Unit shoe.
Reebok shoe that apparently they made a lot of money, so apparently people bought them, but like it was not a thing that we were doing. Yeah. Eminem, man, that era when he was just like breaking every record.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time because he is probably, I don't know who's we don't have anyone since that's close to him, but like he is like the Kelly Clarkson version in rap. Like, you know, for like he came to the Rap Olympics, was literally like winning like, you know, battles for money, you know, meets Dr. Dre, and it's just,
and then it's up.
You know, we have not had a story like that in rap since. Like, we forget about it now. It's just like normal. We're just like, he's just Eminem now. But again, someone coming up in like, imagine, like, think about someone who came up like rapping, like doing freestyles on TikTok, and then became the biggest rapper in the world.
Meg Thee Stallion. She's the closest right now.
That's just
Megan Thee Stallion. No, but Megan Thee Stallion, that's how she became popular when she was first starting. She was doing freestyles and battling people in school.
It's not the same. But I just don't want to go against Meg at a time like this. But it's not the same at all.
Oh yeah, we're in a pro Meg world, baby. I can just get that off. That's what
I'm saying. Like, I'm pro Meg, so I can't. Once you say something good about Meg, I have to agree with you because It's a pro Meg podcast. Yeah.
But I'll say she's the only person that I can really remember where like that's like the way that they came up was like freestyles and like battle rap. But Eminem, like, he owned that space for a very long time. Very long time.
I would say the two closest, now that you think about it more, and these people are probably closer than even Meg, because I think Meg was doing more things in her city that people knew her for. But Meek went quote unquote viral rapping in the street, and also Joey Badass. I know Joey Badass actually turned into like something happening from that, so maybe he's example. And I think he ended up meeting with Jay-Z and DJ Drama and want to sign him from that one video on World Star. So close, but not at all the same. Yeah, it's not all the same.
Because Eminem was doing like a circuit, bro. He was basically like a battle rap person.
Yeah.
Right. And then they started bringing it, okay, like actually let's start making music out of it. So he's definitely unique in that sense. Like to go from a battle rapper to I am now the best rap individual in the world is like a huge come up.
Yeah. And I think too, like the thing about the 2000s was rap had not gone to where it is now, where you could just be like yourself in a sense. Like Eminem was that in a way, but he was somewhat gimmicky. Like still had a character that he played in some of his videos. Yeah. He had different rap voices. You know, towards the end of the decade is when you see like that Kanye 50 battle that really like even now that's kind of what's going on. Yeah. And it's crazy because that really changed hip hop in so many ways, where we see the like Kanye's and 50s of now work together. I think about when we did Saba's album, you know, that song with G Herbo. Yeah. You know, like that 2003, 2004 probably doesn't happen. I think about the Drake and Future project. Yeah. You know, if this is 2004, Drake has to be on the side with Little Brother and Mos Def and Talib Kweli.
Yeah, one thing to even emphasize this, one thing that doesn't really get mentioned in the 2000s is like people like Outkast, like they weren't collaborating with Jay-Z. Like, even though that currently we would be like, oh yeah, they're on the same tier. Yes. Right? But there was no even recognition of each other in any way.
You picked a side.
They never rapped about each other. They didn't interact except for that one award show where they were like, I just gotta say the South has got something to say, you know what I mean? And they won that award. But other than that, I forgot, it was the Source Words, right? Yeah. Other than that, they didn't interact really when it came musically, or even like, you know, this was still a time where there was regionalism.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, being from the South and rapping was like, you lived on a different planet. Yeah. Like it was East and West Coast, South kind of existed. They were on Pluto, you know?
Yeah. Now that New York bias was still hella strong at that time. The thing that I have in my notes here, which you can kind of go through quickly, is like think about how some of these people aged. Because for a lot of who are our age right now, who we are like the ones who are like covering hip hop right now, entrenched in what hip hop is right now, like we remember a lot of these guys differently than I think the people who are younger than us do. Yeah. DMX, rest in peace. Yeah. His run when he was the hottest rapper. I say this all the time. I'm like, people need to remember that DMX at one point was like more popular than Jay-Z, and it was not close.
Yeah, and Jay-Z was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how do I compete with this type of stuff?
Yeah, and there was that whole rumor about when Jay-Z got the president job at Def Jam, he slowed down DMX's albums. But DMX, his run was, you know, I call it Future-esque, even though DMX is more of a rapper than Future is. But I would say it's even more than Future-esque. Like, he was the best-selling rapper, like, in general. Yeah, other than Eminem at one point, you know. So that run is different. Ludacris now as an actor. Yeah. You know,
Ludacris, you know, I said 50 was like one of my births into hip hop, but Ludacris was like, I loved Ludacris.
You were raised right.
Yeah, I loved Ludacris. Like him and Allen Iverson were like my gods.
The Braid Kings.
Yeah. These were my guys. I also had braids back then.
Yeah.
Right? So these were my dudes when I was a kid.
Yeah, those two. That's culture. That's culture right there. Ludacris, also interesting story, like as like a radio personality and a DJ becoming a rapper. Yeah. Like
that doesn't happen anymore.
We're not
that's the thing that doesn't happen
anymore. And it's funny because these are things that like we almost take for granted as people who were around for that era. We know that's the case. You know, we don't see those stories anymore at all. Yeah. At all. So it's so interesting to see Ludacris like as an actor now, and people know him as an actor.
Brainsless.
But one of the best rappers of his era, easily when Leaders of Atlanta, helping that whole thing come about.
Yeah,
and
his
then
beef with T.I. too was also helped make
that was I forgot about that. That was crazy.
Yeah,
because I used to love T.I. too, but I was Team Luda, man.
Yeah, me too. I was Team Ludacris, but with T.I.'s music, you're seeing the beginning of trap music.
Yeah.
Like the very, very beginning of trap music.
When they had that versus Gucci versus Young Jeezy, which side were you on?
I was not on either. Gucci and Jeezy at that time were not on my radar.
Damn.
I was Ludacris, 50, T.I., Jay-Z. Who else was really going on at that time? That was my sphere.
Yeah, Lil Wayne, I guess. Oh, you weren't not
I was not a Lil Wayne fan.
Not Lil Wayne
I was an Outkast. Yeah, I was not a Lil Wayne. I know that's mind-boggling for a lot I was not a Lil Wayne fan.
But he has Outkast, so he can pass.
Yeah. See, I was a backpacker back then, okay?
Outkast was it. Outkast is my favorite group.
How many people were really bumping Outkast like that at that time? Like, people, they were recognized.
Yeah.
But they were like, yo, I love Outkast.
And definitely not our age. I think, like, maybe people were 10 years older than us.
Yeah, people were older than us.
But, like, our age, definitely not.
I was an Outkast person.
I want to mention one thing about this, like, Gucci versus Jeezy thing, which at the time I was too young to even really follow along.
Yeah.
But that whole thing about Jeezy sending some of his goons for Gucci, and then Gucci killing one of them. That, we're not seeing that. That's not happening again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's also one of those things that it's like, that's the era we're coming from. So it's like seeing all these rappers die nowadays and things go left. It's like, this is from the era where these guys really beefed and Jeezy really sent someone. And Gucci really killed him.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a whole different energy. And last but not least is Ja Rule. Ja Rule seen as a joke now.
Yeah, which is so crazy because before 50, it was Ja Rule, right? Everything about him. That was the original. There's like a lineage of Ja Rule versus 50, then 50 versus Kanye West in dominance for the airwaves.
And it was a time when like 50, beefing with 50 was like, curtains. It really was. It really was. And it's like, we haven't had someone who's like that since. I think Drake was probably the closest when the whole world was beefing with him until Pusha T got involved.
Yeah.
But someone like Ja Rule being a joke right now is crazy because he has, of all the people we're naming, probably some of the songs you hear the most still to this day.
Yeah.
It's on either you hear on the club or on the radio. Like, Ja Rule probably has music played the most out of like many of these guys we're naming. So it's crazy that he's the one who like didn't age the best and it's a joke still because...
Yeah, I think him as an artist did not age well, but his music aged actually very well.
Yes.
Like it's still like I have Ja Rule tracks on my summer playlist.
Yeah, for sure. You should.
Right? So he's definitely on the summer playlist, but he is not going to be posting stuff on Instagram and be like, yeah, Ja Rule. No. Okay. And we're not looking towards the Ja Rule protege. For 50, remember Pop Smoke was basically his. There was that's the difference.
They're making me sad now.
That's the difference. Like people 50, like a cosign from 50, that's like, yo, that's a big deal. Right? A cosign from Ja Rule is like,
nah.
Why do we care?
And that's why I thought about it because 50 and Ja Rule both stopped making like relevant music around the same time.
True.
50 had a couple of like, hits at the end that, a little bit longer, but they both had the same era. Like it wasn't like 50 lasted an extra 10 years past Ja, but the influence just a whole different level. Yeah. And this is the last thing I'll talk about quickly because I think that it's good to start this here. It's talking about that early Drake 08, 09 era when Young Money was just starting up.
Yep.
Talk about that. Like we'll get more into it in the 2010s, obviously, but when Young Money was starting up, it was that time. Talk about that.
I think So Far Gone is, I consider that a classic album.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that was like kind of just like your brain didn't fully comprehend what was happening because it was a guy, like you would hear a guy rapping and then there's another dude singing. But and then you would ask somebody, you're like, oh, who's that singing? And it's like, it's the same dude. It's still Drake. And like that was like, like when 808s and Heartbreaks, you already kind of got a taste of that, right? You're like, oh, Kanye, why is Kanye singing? What's with all this auto-tune stuff? And then Drake was doing it, but like Drake, I would consider Drake a better singer than Kanye was.
Yes.
And it was like he was singing the hooks where when we were talking about Jay-Z in Blueprint.
Yeah.
We were like, Jay-Z should have gotten somebody else to sing his hooks.
Yeah, but not Drake.
Yeah, Drake was like, oh, wow, it actually sounds good. And like, it's the same dude. And like, you can do that? Like, that's a thing that's doable? So that was definitely like, you know, it was like your third eye open in hip hop, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, honestly. I think So Far Gone is probably, you know, top 5, top 10 most influential projects of the past 20 years. You know, J. Cole said it himself. He's like, Friday Night Lights because of So Far Gone. Kendrick has said it about Section 80. You know, once So Far Gone came out, it's like your mixtape had to be like album worthy.
Yes, yeah,
like,
that's also true.
That was the end of like, you know, there was no ceilings before then, and No Ceilings was all freestyles, maybe 90 seconds. Yeah. So Far Gone said we put an end to that.
Yeah, like there's a real project.
Right,
like the
right
mixtape
away.
is most of it is original, a bunch of samples, right? Yeah. But like this is our thing. Like this is our debut mix. Like saying even debut mixtape, even though he had a bunch of mixtapes before. But like this was his like quote unquote debut mixtape, right?
A whole different time.
Like people are talking about him going to the Grammys off of it. You know, the labels all over him.
October's
like,
very own.blogspot.com.
Yeah, the blog is going off. So, what was the single off of it with him and Nicki Minaj?
Nicki Minaj is not on So Far Gone.
Yeah, on the remix. She's on the remix. Best I Ever Had. She's on the remix.
Oh yeah.
She's on the remix, but Best I Ever Had radio play. This is a mixtape, bro, and it had radio play.
And the Still Fly freestyle. Yeah. I forgot about Best I Ever Had. Best I Ever Had is crazy. This is how I knew Drake was gone. Best I Ever Had was like one of the songs on the album that I used to skip. Like,
really?
Yeah, like it was like not one of my favorites. So once it became like popular, I like poked my head outside. I was like, oh wow, this must be hidden because I'm listening to, you know, Uptown on repeat or whatever. Yeah. The last thing I will say about this is this was the most confusing time for me as a fan because I had been a fan of Drake when he was like only known in Toronto. Like one of the few Toronto rappers I actually knew of. And Room for Improvement I caught a little bit late, but Comeback Season, I remember like being excited for that drop. And there's like no singing on that. You know, if anyone's who heard that mixtape, he sings once and it's a joke. You know, it's a joke song. So when I heard So Far Gone, it took a few listens to me to realize it was Drake because he had never sung before. And if you hear Comeback Season, it is like way closer to No Name's project than it is to Maxwell. Like it is very much all rapping. So that was the craziest time just for me of being like, okay, like this is another sample. Okay, you're not crediting someone as singing. Okay, who keeps singing? Who's this? All right, you didn't credit them this time. Then after I'm like put two and two together, I said, this is Drake.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just imagine that happening for millions of people. You know what I mean? Like maybe they were all fans of Comeback Season, but just not expecting a rapper to do that. You know, like that must have been so crazy.
Yeah, and also this style of music, right, is pretty like comparing like the beginning, right, where we're talking about, you know, 50 Cent and Jay-Z, strictly rap. Yeah, right. Yeah. And like I said in the review, Jay-Z is like his calling card. Like the reason why he's popular is because of his technical proficiency at rapping. Right. Then it got to a point where Drake, I don't consider an A+ rapper, right? But his ability to combine the rapping and the singing is now what like this is it. Like you know, you need to, going forwards to currently now. If you are not able to do that, it's kind of not gonna work.
It's not. No, you need to be.
There needs to be some melodic element to your hip hop music now for it to really, really be huge. Unless you're like Kendrick Lamar, who again is extremely technically proficient.
Well, Kendrick is still melodic.
Yeah, and there's still melodies to it. So it's a very beginning of the sea change in 2009. It is,
and it's almost as if Drake just, you know, kind of aged out the rappers who don't want to be melodic because I think melodic is a great word to use because it's not necessarily singing. Think about Reason's last album that just came out. He's mostly just rapping on it. It's not times he's being melodic.
Right.
Compared to someone like Kendrick you mentioned before, Kendrick isn't always necessarily singing, but there's melody going on. Yeah. So I think that's a huge part of it. I think that I want to know what year our fans were born. That's now that we're the 2000s, the next era is going to be the 2010s. So this is the time to figure out what year were these people born.
You know what's crazy is because you could be born in 2003 and you're like 20 years old now. And you're like actually you've been in conversation about music since you're probably like 13, 14, 15, 16. So you've actually been talking about music, and you've been talking about like Future, like, yo, remember back when Future was dropping, Dirty Sprite too, right? You're like, that was sick. Like, we should go back to that time. We're like, yo, like,
that's a throwback.
That's a throwback, right? Like listening to something like, for example, when we keep talking about commas.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
All right, that's the end of the podcast, guys.
Diamonds Dancing is kind of like a throwback now. It's 7 years old.
It is.
So, but now we're talking about 50, Jay-Z, and like we were alive. Yes. And like watching things on 106 and Park and engaging with this form of music where I feel like a lot of our people are like, yeah, I was like 2.
We're gonna find out. Please, in the comments.
Yeah.
All you YouTube people, please in the comments. I want to know what year you were born. And what is the first rap album that you listened to?
Yeah.
Let's start there. I can get a kind of a feeling of what kind of fans we have. If you tell me your first rap album was Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy, I also rock with you. But
I think for a lot of people, like if you're born in 2003, right? So 10 years, 2013, so 14, 15, 16, probably going to be something made by Future.
That's probably Drake.
Drake or Future, yeah.
Future's, I feel like Future can't be your entry into rap. Like Future's like you already listen to rap.
Or 2016, 2015. I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's probably Take Care or something like that.
Yeah, or something by J. Cole, something or Kendrick Lamar.
Like very
that's
interesting.
when Damn came out in 2016.
Yes.
So. Yeah, you'd be Big 3. The Big 3 was already established when they started listening to music. We were there when we were like, oh wow, 3 dudes at the same time are coming up. This is crazy.
It's crazy. Now it's just normal.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in to Album Mode and our weekly discussion about Future's commas. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video. We're existing out here on YouTube. It's all good times, all fun. We're over 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to see more. Let's have more people join in on the conversation. I want to thank everybody for subscribing to us, following to us on the interwebs, social media. You can follow us at Album Mode on Twitter, at Album Mode Pod on Instagram, and at Album Mode Pod on TikTok. On YouTube, we're just at Album Mode. We got that.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you, everybody, and make sure, Adriel, know yourself and know your worth.
Later days.